Hello, welcome back to Armchair, Armoury. And it's another season over. What can I say? It's been a season of up and downs. Definitely an improvement on last season in terms of on the pitch, but still the same kind of heartache that we've come to find with Arsenal that's probably been there since Arsene Wenger left, and in the latter stages of Arsene Wenger's career at Arsenal. In general, I'm not content necessarily with finishing fifth, especially losing it out to Spurs, but at the same time I can look at it from the bigger picture and say, comparing it from the last season and a half, or the last season and half season before that, this has been a vast improvement, particularly on the pitch. It would have been nice to break that glass ceiling and get back into the Champions League, but those last two games were, it just wasn't really. We froze. We bottled it at the end of the day, if that's what you want to call it. We bottled it. Something normally synonymous with Spurs, but this time we bottled it. And it is what it is, I guess, because of the fact that we have a young, inexperienced side. To be honest, I don't put most of the blame on Arteta for the losses to, maybe in terms of his substitutions at Newcastle. But yeah, I think that we just froze, particularly at Newcastle. Spurs, I think, was inflicted due to Holding being sent off. But with Newcastle, we just completely crumbled. And going down to the last game of the season, there was literally no way, to be honest, that Spurs were gonna lose to Norwich on the final day. They went on to win 5-0. We won our final game against Everton at home 5-1. Obviously, they were safe after beating coming back from 2-0 down to beat Brentford 3-2 on Thursday, I think it was. So, the pressure was off, and obviously we put in a really good performance. I didn't watch the game, obviously, because it wasn't on TV. I saw the highlights. It looked like we played pretty well. Some of the goals were pretty good, especially Ødegaard's goal at the end. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of what happened last season when we bottled the Europa League semi-final second leg against Villarreal, and that was inflicted by Arteta. By playing a false nine, Willian as the false nine. When the pressure was off, we started winning again, and it seems like that's happened again. But this is why I can't fully blame the manager, because as I said earlier on in the season and parts of last season, since I've started this has been a mentality thing within Arsenal Football Club since as long as I can remember. Maybe even like 2011, 2012. Was the first time I noticed that we started kind of doing quote-unquote Spursy things. But yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. We finish fifth and we move on to next season. That's all we can do. It's going to be tough because of the fact that it's going to be Thursday, Sunday now when the Europa League kicks off. But we've got to deal with that, and from day one, it's going to be pressure on Arteta, because a lot of fans, even though they've kind of gone, okay, yeah, we can see a little bit of progression, but we want to see more now, and the pressure's going to be on. And I have a feeling that this might be the season where the Arteta outers get their wish, because the same thing happened to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That he got second, got Man United back into the Champions League, and then it went downhill from there, really. So I can see the same thing happening again. I hope it doesn't. I hope that we are able to manage it. I hope that we have a big summer and bring in quality players to help us get over the line next season. But yeah, there are a lot of, that's the thing, the way that I see it is that you've got one side of the fan base that's like, Arteta can do no wrong, everything's going well, fifth is amazing, this, that and the other. And then you've got the other side that say, oh yeah, because he didn't get because he didn't get fourth, he should go. And it's kind of, he should go. And well, they said that before we got to the situation we're in now. I just feel like people say things depending on whatever the situation is at that time, instead of looking at where most people should be. And I heard Harry Symeou say this, you should probably be somewhere in the middle about this, where it's kind of like, it's disappointing that we didn't finish fourth, but we've climbed 3 places up the table from the past 2 seasons, so something is definitely happening. It's very easy to turn around and say, top 4 or bust. It's very easy to say that, and that's the problem with a lot of this fan base, is that they seem to flip flop quite a lot. As soon as we win 4 or 5 games, it's kind of like, oh yeah, top 4 is definitely on, Arteta's the man, and then we lose 3 games, and then it's Arteta out, and it's kind of like, make up your mind. I don't pay attention to any of this anymore. I just kind of do me at the end of the day. Like, my opinion is that I'm still kind of wary of the fact that he's inexperienced, but I've seen something to make me think, okay, yeah, the players that we've got and the signings that we've made have for the most part worked, and we've done well to get to 5th. I do want to see more next season, obviously, but I'm not going to sit here and say because he didn't get 4th, he has to go. Like I say, I think people aren't looking objectively when they say that. I think they just say it because it's cool to say it, you know. I think it's cooler to look like you hate the manager and want the club to do badly because so he can go, than look at it kind of objectively and be like, okay, well, it's not ideal, but it's the best we've got at the moment compared to where we've been the last 4 or 5 years. And in all honesty, the people that compare Arteta to Emery at this moment in time, he's done no worse than Emery, in my opinion, from a managerial point of view. You know, Emery got us to a Europa League final. We got battered in that Europa League final. He bottled top 4. Same thing happened with Arteta. The only difference is Arteta's won a trophy. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's neither here nor there. You know, if the season starts, if the 2022-2023 season starts, and you know by December, January we're mid-table and we're losing to teams like, I don't know, Forest if they come up, or Huddersfield if they come up, or something like that, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, we need to have that conversation. But in the words of Simon Jordan, I think he needs another go on the merry-go-round. And at this moment in time, I think the baseline objective was for us to get back into Europe at least. So in general, it's been an okay season. It's been slight progression with typical Arsenal disappointment, which, you know, I don't think that's unique to this manager or to this regime. I just think people that are saying that never wanted Arteta in the first place, or always had their doubts about him. So now this has happened, they're like, oh, I've got something now. I've got something to hang on to. But yeah, so what I thought I'd do is kind of similar to what I did last season, where I went through kind of the fixture list and had a speak about what had gone on during that time and kind of where I was at that point. So with pre-season, as you can see here, we've got quite a lot. So with pre-season, we had pre-season friendlies against Hibernian and Rangers. By this point, we had signed Nuno Tavares, I think he scored in the Rangers game at Ibrox. We had 2 behind closed doors fixtures against Millwall and Watford, which we both won. I think after that then we signed Ben White, I think, if I can remember correctly. We signed Ben White, we signed Aaron Ramsdale, and then I think just on deadline day we signed Takehiro Tomiyasu. which everyone was taking the piss out of us for and saying, why have you signed this like Japanese nobody and all this kind of stuff that doesn't even want to be a right back. Even Sky Sports were taking the mick. In my opinion, he's been the breakout star of the season. Like, I know people will say Saka and Martinelli and Smith Rowe, but for me, he has been the breakout star. As soon as he came into the side, he took to it like a duck to water. Whatever Arteta's told him, he's followed everything. It's just the injuries have kept him out, which is why people forget of how good he is. Aaron Ramsdale's another one as well that, you know, usurped Bernd Leno for the number one spot as a goalkeeper, and has done, in my opinion, brilliantly. It's only really now where he's sort of faltered a little bit. So yeah, to go back, so then we had the Mine series, which I don't really pay too much attention to. Like, we lost to Chelsea and Tottenham, and there were people that were a bit sceptical about the fact that we played, that we hadn't signed a striker, and we hadn't signed a midfielder, a kind of better midfielder than Granit Xhaka, to go alongside Partey. I think at this point as well, Xhaka had signed a new contract, which everyone was up in arms about, but I didn't really care. I've actually, apart from, you know, in the early days, I've actually kind of rated Xhaka. I think he's been one of our most important players this season. But yeah, shoot me, I don't care. So yeah, season started, and we had those three, opening fixture. Friday night, August the 13th, Brentford Football Club, their first game back in top flight football for over 70 years. In their brand new stadium after, you know, not being in after the pandemic, and yeah, we got rolled over, literally rolled over. I think I remember putting in the thumbnail that I want the season to be over already, because it was so bad. I just didn't know where we were going, and I had a feel at that point. I was thinking, yeah, this is where we're going to have a new manager by January, I think. And I was wrong. Then we played Chelsea. I think, again, I named this mediocre status confirmed, because they just signed Romelu Lukaku, who turned out to not be a great signing for them, but in this game he was unstoppable. 2 goals from him and Reece James. Then we started off with our campaign in the Carabao Cup against West Bromwich Albion. We won that game 6-0. I think Aubameyang scored a hat-trick in that game. I'll come on to Aubameyang later. And then this was the point in the season where I really did think that Mikel's days were numbered at this point. An absolutely atrocious performance at the end of August at the Etihad against Manchester City, and we got completely annihilated 5-0. I think this was one of the worst performances of the season. We literally didn't show up. It just felt like we were just standing to one side and letting them run through and score. And it was frankly, and I don't use this term very often, but it was embarrassing. It was terrible. And at this point, I thought, I don't know where we're going to get a win from. It was really, really painful to watch. Then after that, we went on a bit of a run. So there was 1-0 wins against Norwich at home and Burnley away, which were kind of like narrow wins. It was one of those kind of things where we came off of the 5-0 loss to City, and then we, you know, did what we could to get over the line. So then next was the Carabao Cup 4th round, I believe, where we beat AFC Wimbledon 3-0, which was another Carabao Cup game where Eddie Nketiah shone. We then played Spurs, the first North London derby of the season, at the end of September, and we won that 3-1. With Nuno Espirito Santo as their manager, who got sacked shortly after that. A month or so after that, he got sacked. And that was a really good performance, a very shocking performance in terms of, I didn't expect that after everything that we'd gone through for the past, since the start of the season. But then I was worried, because we always seem to struggle particularly against Palace and Brighton, who came next. Brighton away, Palace at home, both draws. It was a very eventful 0-0 draw at the Amex, mainly with Brighton dominating us, and it took a last minute goal from Alexandre Lacazette to earn us a point against Palace at the Emirates. And people started to worry again. For me, I was kind of like, I expected us to drop points at some point. We always seem to struggle against Brighton, particularly at the Amex, and Palace have given us games in the past as well. Then we went on another bit of a run, a decent run. In the Premier League, we beat Aston Villa 3-1. Really good performance from what I can remember. We beat Leeds in the Carabao Cup. 2 more goals, I think, for Eddie Nketiah. And then we beat Leicester away, which we've had quite a decent record at the King Power for the past couple of seasons, come to think of it. Then another sort of gutsy win over Watford at home on the 7th of November. And then we played Liverpool at Anfield, and got battered 4-0. But you kind of expect that from Liverpool. I know that there's this whole argument around a free hit and all this kind of stuff, but with a team like Liverpool, the way they are at the moment, they took City to the last day of the season. It's obvious that you can't really expect to get anything from them. Newcastle, whose fortunes have changed very much since this game, on the 27th we beat them 2-0, so that was November, and we were slowly but surely climbing up the table at this point. I don't think we were leading the race for top 4 at this point. I think we were like 5th or 6th at this point. Then we played Manchester United at Old Trafford, which is always a really hard place to go, and Ødegaard made a mistake and conceded a penalty, which Cristiano Ronaldo converted, and Manchester United came out 3-2 winners. I still say that we deserved to win that game. It was just fine margins. Ronaldo ain't going to miss a penalty, plain and simple. Then this, for some people, is considered the worst performance of the season for a lot of people. Everton at Goodison on the 6th of December, we lost 2-1. It was quite bad. It was very, very similar, and I'll come to that in a bit, but it is very, very similar to when we lost to Palace and when we lost to Newcastle, where it just looked like we weren't going to win the game from the moment we kicked off. Then we bounced back with a 3-0 win over Southampton, which I remember being a pretty good performance, despite the opening 15 minutes where it looked like we were going down the same road that we did it against Everton. Then there was a really good performance at home to West Ham, a 2-0 win there. Played Leeds again in the Premier League, 1-4-1. That was a decent performance. We then played Sunderland in the Carabao Cup, which I think Eddie Nketiah scored a hat-trick in this one, and we won that 5-1, which was pretty good. We then went to Norwich, and everyone seemed to be slapping up Norwich. So on Boxing Day, we beat them 5-0. That was a really good performance from what I remember. And then after that, we then played Manchester City, which I feel was a sort of turning point in the season to some extent. At this point, we were kind of like there or thereabouts, kind of looking to lead the race for 4th position. And this game for me was where I thought, okay, we're now starting to see what Arteta is doing. I know we lost, and we lost in dire circumstances. I think we were 1-0 up going into the game. If I remember correctly, I'm just going to click on this and see where we are. So Saka scored after 31 minutes. Xhaka, I forget who he fouled now. It might have been Rodri, that gave away a penalty, which obviously Mahrez converted. And then a defensive kind of scuffle in the box, and Rodri got the pass back, went the wrong way, went to Rodri put it in past Ramsdale, and City went out 2-1 winners. And it was devastating because we played really well. We really, really competed with them in that game. And for me, that was where I was kind of like, okay, I can now see where this progression is coming from. Then, after the really, really good performance despite the loss to Manchester City, 8 days later, we go to the City ground in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, wearing all white for the No More Red campaign, and we lose 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. And this was another one where it was like, to be fair, we played a second string team, but it kind of made us realise that the squad depth that we have, you know, we didn't have the squad depth, which I didn't talk about before, but we didn't sign anybody in January. We let Aubameyang go, who had allegedly had disciplinary issues with Arteta. He was stripped of the captaincy. He was let go to Barcelona. He's had his contract cancelled, and he was let go to Barcelona. We also loaned out Ainsley Maitland-Niles to Roma. We sold Callum Chambers to Aston Villa. We loaned out Pablo Mari to Udinese. Following Balogun, we loaned out to Middlesbrough. So we were very, very skin deep in terms of like our squad. And the second string team that came in to play Nottingham Forest just wasn't good enough. And yeah, we lost on a counter attack essentially. The goal was scored from a counter attack. They defended very, very well. And yeah, and once again, the City ground seems to be a cursed ground for us. And this is why, even though I watched the playoff semi-final, I really worry about us playing them if they come up to the Premier League, because I feel like that's becoming a bit of a hoodoo, the City ground. So yeah, so then we move on to the Carabao Cup semi-final, which is split over 2 legs, and we were drawn with Liverpool. Played them at Anfield first of all. I remember this being a very good performance in terms of keeping Liverpool out. I think we had somebody sent off, if I remember correctly. Granit Xhaka got sent off a high boot on Sadio Mane, I believe. Oh no, on Diogo Jota, and so we literally had to defend for the whole game. Defended really well, got out of there 0-0 to take it back to the Emirates, where again we capitulated and lost 2-0, and that's basically us out of all the domestic competitions. Then end of January we drew 0-0 with Burnley, which was really, really frustrating because we needed to get back on track, you know, in going for top 4. Like I said, I did always think that like this was going to be the case, that we were going to be really inconsistent and drop our shop in from time to time. So this is why deep down I thought we won't get top 4. The only time where I thought maybe was when we beat Leeds, which I'm coming to. So then there was this period, which again, where it's the hope that kills you, where you start believing this is what's going to happen, or this might actually happen. So we beat Wolves away. We played Wolves quite close to each other actually. So at Molineux we beat them 1-0. Gabriel beat Brentford, and then had to play Wolves again the following week at the Emirates, and won that 2-1. If I remember, did we? Yeah. It was an own goal from their goalkeeper that got us the points. Another dramatic win. Then in March, we went to Vicarage Road, 1-3-2, which looks a lot more flattering to Watford than it was. They got 2 late goals, I believe. Then Leicester came to the Emirates. Another really good performance. We beat them 2-0. With the game at the Emirates with Liverpool, I feel like from what I remember, I feel like for the first like half an hour, 45 minutes, the first half, something like that, we played reasonably well. And then second half we let them in, and that was it basically. Then we went to Aston Villa, gutsy win there, 1-0. And then this is where I feel the season kind of derailed slightly. I think we were by March 19th, after we'd beaten Aston Villa, we were probably in pole position to go on and finish 4th. And then there was these 3 games against Palace away, Brighton at home, and Southampton away, and we lost all 3 of them. Palace, one of the worst performances of the season, I think. I think we, from the moment the game started, we were out of it. We couldn't take the pressure of Selhurst Park, completely dominated. Arteta is the reason why we lost this game to Brighton. He decided to play Granit Xhaka at left back, which meant that Xhaka was always cutting in on that left hand side, and we got punished for it, lost 2-1. Southampton was a little bit different. I think we dominated that game, and I didn't watch it because it wasn't on TV. We dominated that game, but they had one chance and just basically stood behind the ball for the entirety of the game, pretty much. And I sort of agree with Mikel in the sense that if we played this 100 times, we probably would have won it. One out of those 100 times we would have won. It's just unfortunate, I think, with this. And at this point, everyone's on the floor thinking top 4 ain't going to happen. It's all over. Arteta out, all that rubbish. And then we go to Stamford Bridge. Well, I know that Chelsea have been going through their own problems with Abramovich having to sell the club due to the unfortunate conflict in Ukraine and all that kind of stuff. And we actually went there and won. We actually went there and won 4-2. Again, it was a very, very tense night from what I remember because, Lacazette had been out with COVID. I think Holding came in for Gabriel or Ben White, I can't remember now. And Nketiah stepped up that night. El Neni stepped up that night because Partey had been injured at this point and Tierney had been out as well. Yeah, and Nketiah stepped up that night, scored 2 goals. There was one point where it looked like it was going to end up being a draw or a goal or a win for Chelsea, and we managed to get it over the line. It was a really good performance. Then Manchester United at home. Again, I had to listen to this on the radio because I had to take my wife to Canterbury. It didn't sound like we played very well. It seemed like I think I said at the time, it sounded like it was 2 teams that were kind of all over the place, and it was just whoever made the less mistakes was the team that won. It was a screamer from Granit Xhaka that basically killed the game off. And it just kind of shows how poor Man United have been this season. You know, at the start of the season, I really did think when they signed Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo, and re-signed Cristiano Ronaldo, I was like, there's no way that those guys ain't going to be in the top 4. And they've been poor. This is another reason why I'm a little bit worried for Arteta and for Arsenal going forward, because Ralf Rangnick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have gone now, and Erik ten Hag is in, and it's a new manager with new ideas, and it might just reinvigorate Manchester United. Who knows? Let's see. But still, they beat us at Old Trafford, we beat them at the Emirates, which seems to be happening quite a lot this year. Then there was another gutsy win over West Ham at the London Stadium. I mean, to be fair, we played them in between their Europa League semi-final, between the first and second leg, so I guess we had the advantage there. But it was a very gutsy win. They did still give us a game regardless, and then we managed to get over the line. Quite a dominant performance in the first half against Leeds. And they pulled one back towards the end of the game, and it was a bit of a nervy 15 minutes towards the end, but we managed to get over the line. And then it all comes down to these 2 games here. So Rob Holding gets sent off in the North London derby. Rob Holding gets sent off. We concede a penalty, and then Rob Holding gets sent off, and we go on to lose 3-0. I feel like with this game, circumstances just went against us, and I think we crumbled under the pressure of there. And that was pretty much it, I think. Like when we lost, I've been saying for a long time that like if we lose to Spurs, that's probably gonna be where we lose top 4. Because like I said, the difference between us and them is that they've got world-class players and they have a better manager than us. And you have to hold your hat up, you take your hat off to them and say, look, they were 9th when Conte came in, and he's got them into the Champions League. But the one thing I'll say to Tottenham fans listening, if there are any Tottenham fans listening, we'll see you in the Europa League in January, because I don't think you're going to get very far in it. And then for me, this is my personal worst performance of the season. Newcastle away. And Newcastle's fortunes have changed a lot since their takeover and since Eddie Howe came in. They've signed some really decent players, including like Bruno Guimaraes, Dan Burn, people like that, Matt Targett, people like that. But from the moment we kicked off, we just didn't look like we were in the game. We totally folded. And it was only a matter of time before Newcastle scored. Martinelli came on and did a little bit, and at that point it was 1-0, and it was kind of like, okay, yeah, if we can get back in the game now, maybe. But yeah, Guimaraes scored the winner for them. Quite ironic that we were linked with him all summer and all January and all summer, and then he ends up going to Newcastle and then scoring a goal that basically puts the nail in the coffin of our top 4 hopes. Final game of the season was the 5-1 win over Everton, which I spoke about at the beginning. From what I saw of the highlights, it seemed like it was a decent performance, but too little too late at the end of the day. Let's see. I mean, as I say, I think it's been okay for a season, but it's been the typical Greek tragedy that is Arsenal Football Club at times, where you think things are going well. It reminds me of a little bit of the 15-16 season, the season that Leicester won, where we had a really brilliant chance to win the league, and we slipped up against United and Swansea, and that's what basically almost but certainly handed the title to Leicester that season. Right, so I'm gonna go through the team now and talk about who I think will still be here next season. So obviously I think Leno's going. I've heard that he's been linked with Benfica, so Leno's probably going to be gone. I can imagine Ramsdale's probably going to be our number 1 next season. He'll wear the number 1 shirt. Conquo's obviously a young player, so he'll probably still be here. We've also got Matt Turner coming in from New England Revolution, so he'll probably be the new backup goalkeeper in front of Okonkwo. Tierney's probably still going to be around. I just hope his injury record improves. Ben White, obviously. Gabriel, even though he's been linked with Juventus, I think he'll still be here next season. Holding, I don't know. Decent squad player, but I think that this might be his last. Like yesterday was his last performance in an Arsenal shirt. I think we're going to sell him. Same with Cedric. I think Cedric might go. Well, then again, Arteta seems to like Cedric, so maybe not. Tomiyasu, no way he's going. Nuno Tavares, up and down season, started very well and kind of like fell off the apple cart a little bit. I don't know, maybe. I mean, he's a decent. There's another Arsenal fan I know where I work, and he's like very much against the idea of Nuno Tavares ever being in the team, and it's kind of like, well, that's a bit harsh. Like he's not Gus Caesar level bad. So yeah, let's give him another go. Midfielders, well, Partey is still injured at the moment, but he's not going to be going anywhere. Saka, I don't think will be going anywhere. I've heard that they're trying to extend his contract further. Everyone here, I think, is probably still going to be here next season. Even Granit Xhaka. I don't think Granit Xhaka is going to go, personally. El Neni, I've heard, is signing a new 1-year deal. So, yeah, I think in terms of that's the thing. I think we need to add like two or three more midfielders to this lineup here, because as much as El Neni can come in and do a job, he does fall off from time to time. You know, when Partey's out, we need someone that's like as good as, if not better than, Granit Xhaka to come in. So yeah, we'll see how the summer goes. And then obviously forwards, well, three out of those four are going to be gone, I think, this summer. Lacazette's definitely gone. Pepe, I think, will be sold this year. It's just clear that Arteta doesn't fancy him. And Nketiah's going to go. And obviously we're keeping Martinelli because he's been given the number 11 shirt now. So yeah, the players that are on loan, bloody hell, there's loads of them. So Renison, not sure, don't think we'll keep him. Bellerin, I think, I don't know, like Bellerin, if he does come back, I think he would be quite good, a good squad. If he's happy to come back and just play second fiddle behind behind what's it called? Behind Tomiyasu, then maybe. Saliba, this is the section of the Arsenal fan base that just use Saliba as the stick to beat Arteta with, to say, oh, why didn't we keep him? I don't think it's a guarantee that he would have been any as good as he's been for Marseille if he'd stayed at Arsenal, to be honest. I think he should come back because he would be a good backup, and I think he would play a lot of games in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, so I think he should come back. But part of me thinks he won't. I think he thinks he's been fucked over by the club, and he probably won't come back, to be honest. I think he's going to be sold. Pablo Mari, again, it's a hard one to say. I think he will probably come back, but if the right offer comes, he probably will be sold. Torreira, his number's been given away, which probably means he probably will be sold. If Arteta does decide to keep him, I think a lot of fans will be annoyed because they want a brand new player. There's a problem, really, is that like a lot of people just want new players because they can say, oh look, fresh new thing. But at the same time, if Torreira comes back and he plays well and he can come in and do a job, fair enough. I think Maitland-Niles is probably done with Arsenal now, just because I don't think what Arteta would want to use him for is what he wants necessarily. I think he's going to be. I feel annoyed at Maitland-Niles, really, because he's gone to Roma and basically sat on the bench for half a season, and he'll still come back and give attitude and that kind of stuff. So I don't think he'll come back. Guendouzi, definitely not. Guendouzi's gone, plain and simple. He's definitely gone. Reece Nelson, I think, will come back, and I think Balogun will come back as well. You see, that's the thing. You get so caught up with the current playing squad that you forget all these people are on loan. I forgot that Hector Bellerin was on loan until I saw a picture of him in the Real Betis kit the other day. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see what happens. But yeah, it's been a interesting season, to say the least. My first full season since I've started doing YouTube, and it's been fun. I mean, it's been hard at times, but I've enjoyed doing the content. I'm not really too bothered about the fact that whether I'm going to be as big as any of the others or anything like that, because I don't want to be known as someone that just does football stuff. I'm interested in a lot of things. But for anyone that's decided to join and subscribe to the channel, thank you very much. Whether it's for Armchair, Armoury, or any of the other shows that I do on this channel, thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to take a couple of months break now from Armchair Armoury for a while and try and focus on the other areas for a little bit, but I will be back in July for the pre-season, which I think our first pre-season game is against Everton in I think it's Everton on the 16th of July in the M&T Bank Stadium, which I think is in America. Yeah, in Baltimore. Cool. Yeah, so that's when I'll be back, shortly before that, with a preview that will be the story so far. I'll just be talking about what's been going on in the transfer window and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining me this season, and I'll see you next time. Take care and stay safe.